Welcome to the Opt-in Podcast. I am Melissa Franks, your host, and this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. And do you know what the most important thing is to you when you are making that shift from survival mode to, I got this, I'm doing great, I am cruising through my professional life? It is mindset. It's all up in here. Now, we're not going to get super woo-woo today, although I can go there if we really need to. It's interesting because the end of the year, one of two things happens. People in business get super stressed out and are like brittle and on the edge of their seats and nervous and like all the things. Or they relax and it's like a vacation and they're cruising through. In fact, there's a couple of business owners that I know that made their year, achieve their goal in the summer, and they're literally just like coasting down the hill. Like not a care in the world, margarita in their hand, living their best life. And then there are others in business that I know that are really worried that they're not going to achieve what they set out to achieve by year end, and they're losing sleep. They look stressed out. They're difficult to talk to. They're difficult to keep focused on anything. And it's really interesting how you can be in this general pot of business people and everybody can be at the same stage in their business and they're experiencing it through an incredibly different lens. And I have a unique perspective because I get to work with a variety of businesses and business owners and their leaders and their teams across a variety of industries. No two are the same. However, business is business is business is business. And so at the end of the road, we're always talking about the same stuff. And what became really, really apparent to me is that there are two types of leadership models. And one of them is really, really traditional, and one of them is not. And it could be generational. It could be a hangover from people that they've hired in the past that are no longer around. It could be like books that they've read or advice they've been given. But really what ends up happening is there are businesses that run in a really traditional kind of top-down model where goals are set and then everybody's goals inherit from those goals. And you're working towards them slowly and methodically throughout the year. And then all of a sudden something happens in October and everybody's hair is on fire. And they're like, I set this goal back in January and now I'm totally not going to miss it because I just spent the last 9 months not working on it. And that's what happens at corporate all the time is somebody somewhere decides this is what we're going to do this year and doesn't actually verify it or vet it with anybody that's actually doing the doing. And the doers ignore it for 9 months until they realize their potential raise and promotion and bonus and all the things are wrapped up around this goal that they didn't agree with, that they didn't set, that they didn't work towards, and now has to be achieved by the end of the year. It's absolute lunacy. And small businesses, large businesses, corporations, billion-dollar businesses, six-figure businesses, it doesn't really matter. If the mentality is in place that like somebody at the top decides and then stays steady Eddie and chases to the finish line, inevitably, cyclically, this is what happens. And then you have literally the polar opposite. The pendulum swings in the other direction and you have somebody that makes some sort of vague declarative statement. I want this year to be better than last year. I want us to be a 7-figure business. I want to be able to pick up my kids from school every day. Like there's just like this arbitrary something at the top. Nobody knows how they're going to get there. Everybody's like, yep, I can see where you're headed. And then they just keep doing. And what's interesting about the latter, the unconventional, is that business, that team, that set of individuals is resilient. Because when they're set up in a way where goals are lofty and aspirational and not finite, it gives them room to bend and move and flex and imagine and do differently and fail and pick themselves back up. And If somebody had made some big declaration that they wanted to be a 7-figure business by the end of the year and they didn't get it, generally those organizations are like, but look at all the good that we did. Like, that was a bad goal because we weren't ready to be 7 figures, or that was a bad goal because we completely upended our business model, or that was a bad goal because we all got to go on this really cool trip and that was so much more worthwhile, or that was a bad goal because we got to take the whole month of December off. I mean, these businesses that are built unconventionally are incredibly resilient, incredibly dynamic, incredibly nimble, and eventually are successful. So what's your point, Melissa? It's not story time here on the Opt-in podcast. Well, it could be. It might be in a minute. But my point is that with the conventional, with the traditional, things are based in a finite world. And so what happens over there is when a different point of view is introduced, when leadership changes, when something happens unexpected in the business, everybody freaks out. Everybody freaks out. And the reason they freak out is because they're not resilient, because they haven't actually built any fortitude. They haven't figured out how to get scrappy and to be solution oriented and to know when to abandon the ship and that it's okay. And they go into panic mode. I cannot fail. I cannot deviate from the mission. I will get it done no matter what it takes, even if it's the wrong thing. And I think that that's why business gets a bad rap, to be quite honest, because it feels stifling and negative and overwhelming and burdensome. And so as I have been watching all of these businesses and I have conversations, in fact, literally just today, I was talking to a friend who's like ready to throw herself out the window because her business, which is in a massive period of disruption. If you know anything about the wine industry at all, you know that the movement to consume less alcohol, to be sober curious, to start drinking non-alcoholic alternatives, that's really been spurned by the millennial and Gen Z generations, has literally thrown the wine industry on its head. It does not know what to do. The wine industry is being massively disrupted right now. What's ironic is the wine industry just went through a massive disruption, and it was when conglomerates came in and bought up a bunch of small wineries. Now, I happen to live in wine country, so I know this probably more intimately than I should. But what's interesting about the wine industry is that it's gone through disruption after disruption after disruption. And this friend of mine that I was talking to was so frustrated because she's been in these days-long meetings building a 5-year plan for a company where they don't even know what their next 5 days is, because that's how much disruption is happening. And instead of saying, we need to do different, we need to find a new creative way to do this, we need to be solution-oriented, we need to go ask for help from somebody that understands what it takes to be able to change a business from the inside out over and over and over again until we find something that works. Instead of doing all that, they're like, we're going to sit down with the whiteboard and the PowerPoint and the Excel spreadsheets, and we're going to plan the next 5 years. We're going to go from the top, this big, lofty financial goal. This is who we're going to be. This is our mission and vision. And we're going to work through all of the details until we know exactly day by day, minute by minute, dollar by dollar, how we're going to achieve that goal that we, the leaders inside of this big wine company, are going to set. And it's madness because the industry is literally under disruption. It is under, I wouldn't say attack, but it is being forced to change. It's a little bit like a caterpillar going into a cocoon and coming out a butterfly. My friend Emily talks about this a lot. You should actually hear her tell the story because she does it much better than I do. But what shocked me is when Emily told me that the caterpillar actually has to liquefy itself before it can emerge, before it can transform into a butterfly. I'm like, what are you talking about? Caterpillar is not liquid when it goes in there, but apparently it completely has to go through this entire transformation. And that's what's happening over in the wine industry. But here we have business after business after business. And I've had this conversation countless times. This friend was the last one that I've had it with recently, but I've literally had this conversation probably 10 times the last 2 months. And everybody's doing it exactly the same way. This is the traditional approach. This is what we know. This is safe. And you know what it's going to do is it's going to destroy a whole bunch of businesses because they're unwilling to have a different perspective. So what I want to talk to you today about, the reason I said it's mindset is because the reality is that threats to traditional business models are increasing. They're not decreasing. Whether it's AI, whether it's regulatory environments, whether it's international trade, whether it's elections, whether it's generational preferences, it doesn't really matter. What is true is that the cycle of demand and supply is significantly shorter than it used to be. People want things, they want it right now, and then they change their mind and want something else, and that is the end of it. We have cancel culture, which never really existed before. Things move so fast. And so the reality is, every business, whether you've just broken 6 figures or you're in the 8-figure club, you are disrupting yourself constantly if you're growing. And the businesses that have stalled, the businesses that are stuck, the owners that can't figure out what to do next, well, that's because they're seeing the disruption happen around them and they're sheltering in place. They are not moving. They are not taking action. They are not seeking opinions. They're scared. And remember when I said that when you create in a traditional model, when you create goals at the beginning of the year and then all of a sudden you get to October and everybody realizes, oh shoot, those goals still exist and it's going to impact how much money I take, the freak out happens. Well, the freak out's happening now in businesses that can see the disruption is happening around them and they refuse to rise to the occasion. And so what I want to talk to you about today is how you, regardless of your role, whether you own a business, whether you lead a team, whether you work for somebody else, whether you work with a whole bunch of businesses, I want to talk to you today about specifically your frame of reference, specifically some language that you can use, and the mode of operation I want to encourage you to be in so that you can be a beacon of light in this period of disruption. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it's my favorite thing. I love a business that is changing. I love it. The reason that I do what I do is because in corporate, I was the only one that ran into the proverbial fire in the business. Failing business unit, I was the first one to show up. Crisis, PR crisis, first one to show up. Sale of a business in jeopardy, first one to show up. Products failing, angry customers, technology failing, first one to show up. I mean, heck, I was in a PTA meeting when the building literally caught on fire, and who did they call first? Me. So I love a good amount of chaos because there's so much opportunity. You see, I believe that with disruption, with chaos, with frustration in your business becomes a rebirth and new and better things. And so you're getting the rose-colored glasses, the glasses half full, kind of, happy-go-lucky girl here for a minute, because I want to talk to you about what it takes to thrive professionally in this period that we're in. So pick your poison, because you all have something going on where you're working right now or in the business that you own that is annoying you, where you are stuck and you don't know the answer. And you keep trying the same things, slightly different ways, and you keep getting the same results. Maybe you keep bringing in more revenue and you can't seem to make any more net profit. Or maybe you can acquire customers, but you can't keep them. Or maybe last year you had a 7-figure business and this year you have a 6-figure business and you did all the same things and you don't know what's going on. Or maybe you hired all of these people that you thought were going to be amazing, and here you are, and nobody's amazing at anything, and you're working around the clock. Whatever is happening, however you are stuck, however you are perplexed, the good news is that you're stuck. The good news is that you've tried things and you don't know what to do next. That's a good thing. Some of you out there are in denial. Some of you out there, even if your boss or your client or your CEO or your spouse or your business partner or your team are pointing out the obvious, you believe everything's just fine. You believe that as long as you keep hitting a couple key metrics, nothing bad can happen. And here's what I want to say to those of you that are in denial. Pay attention to the whispers, because when the whispers become shouts, that's when you lose your business. When the whispers become shouts, that's when you lose your job. When the whispers become shouts, it's too late to turn the ship around. So if you're in denial or you're stuck, the first thing you're going to do is ask for help. The first thing that you're going to do is say, this is what I'm seeing. Does anybody else see the same thing? This is what I'm seeing. Is there a different way to look at this? This is what I'm seeing. What am I missing? Ask the questions. Say the scary thing out loud. Revenue's down. We're not going to make as much money this year as we did last year. Who has any ideas on how that happened? Did we do something differently? What didn't work? Start asking questions. The very first thing that you can do is get inquisitive. Get curious. Ask anybody. And if you don't have anybody to ask because you're a solopreneur and you're making 6 figures and you can't figure out how to grow your business, it's just you, then ask the questions that you would ask a friend. And be honest with your answers. This is my favorite piece of advice, and I'm absolutely awful at following it. Just the other day, I was talking to somebody about my business specifically, and she laughed at me and she goes, you know what to do. You get paid to tell people how to handle that problem. This is not complicated. Seriously. Duh. Yep, you're right. But sometimes when you're inside, when you're in the jar, you can't see the label from the outside of the jar. And in this instance, I was in the jar. I wasn't even sure if there was a label on it because my eyes were so closed and I couldn't see anything. So the first thing, whether you're stuck or you're in denial or you start to see things, indicators, get really curious and ask questions. And don't take the first answer that comes. Ask follow-up questions. So let's play a little game. You increased your revenue this year. You're actually going to make more money in your business from a gross revenue perspective than you did last year. Congratulations, that's good news. And your profit margin is smaller this year than last year. Spoiler alert, that is a problem. That's a problem. That trend will kill your business. So one option is that you could ignore it and hope that it's a fluke. The second option is that you could freak out and you could cut costs everywhere because that's a problem. The third option is that you ask why. Why is it that when we increased revenue $100,000, our gross profit decreased $5,000? What's going on? And keep asking questions. So what does that mean? And so what does that mean? And before you know it, you will start to see patterns form. Before you know it, what you may find is that in order to support the number of widgets that you're selling, you've been hiring more people. And it's more expensive to hire the people than it is to sell the widget that you have. And therefore, you're decreasing your profit margin. Or maybe it is the more you have sold, the more technology you need. And your spend on technology is outpacing the revenue you're recovering. And maybe it's one-time spend, and maybe next year it will all come out in the wash and it's okay. Or maybe it's not because it's all subscription fees. What you want to do is say, here is what I am seeing. Why? What's going on? And start to look around and ask for help. What do you see? Do you think that's what's going on? Do you see this pattern? Does that make sense? Just keep asking questions. And being curious automatically puts you into my recommendation number 2, which is being solution oriented. When you look at a problem in front of you and you begin to figure out what the potential options are to solve the problem that faces you, you become optimistic. Let me say that again. When you look at the problem in front of you and you begin to see the solution possibilities, you become optimistic. And optimistic people are joyful people. Optimistic people are hopeful people. Optimistic people are people that people want to be around. Now, if you see a problem in your business and you freak out or you deny that it's a problem, you know what you become? Pessimistic. The world is against you. Nobody understands. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because sooner or later it's going to pan out. Listen, folks, I'm as stubborn as the next person. And what I will tell you is that stubbornness got me broke. It got me nowhere. I want to give you an example specifically in my business on how exactly stubbornness stopped me. I have multiple failed businesses. Shock ya? Yep, multiple. Now, one of the reasons for that is I was treated like a hobby. I had a full-time day job. I wasn't all in. We can talk about that another time. But this business that I have, it couldn't fail. My back was against the wall. There were no other options. And I leaned into what I knew. I know how to sell. I leveraged my network. I did all the things on social you're supposed to do. I was, trying to gather like, know, and trust, build my audience, find organic traction. I was writing blog posts. I was doing this podcast. I was just, out there in the universe thinking clients would come flock to me. And the reality was I got some referrals. I was able to keep my head above water because I had a strong network that really trusted me. And what wasn't happening is the leads were not flooding in. I had tried all the things. I had tried opening wait lists. I had tried challenges, and you name it. I had tried all of these things. And what it boiled down to was all the things that I had tried before that I knew didn't work, I was repeating. And the world was against me, and this was never going to work, and I catastrophized. And then I reminded myself that we don't catastrophize. We start looking for solutions. And do you know what I did? Because the solution was literally right in front of me. I learned how to run paid ads. And then with the help of my friend and coach, we turned on some very inexpensive Google ads. And voila, people on the internet found me. I have not had a single sale through an Instagram story. I have not had a single sale through organic SEO. I have had a couple of clients, thankfully, from my network, but I haven't gotten a new one in over a year. I picked my head up. I got solution oriented and said, if this isn't working, then what will? What haven't I tried? What do I need to do? What is it going to take? And in this case, it was acquire a new skill, try something new, step out of the box, get a little bit bold, and voila, it changed the game. This is what can happen for you too when you stop being in denial, when you stop continuing to repeat the same things over and over and over again and looking for a different result, and you open up your eyes and you say like, hey, what if we did it differently? Now, this can be applied to all sorts of things. So if your business has been around for a while, or you work in a company that's been around for a long time and this is just how we do things, raise your hand high if you have ever heard somebody say, don't fix what's not broken. This is how we do it here. This is just the way it is. If I had a nickel, I would be living my best life on a beach somewhere. And what I can also tell you is that as soon as that's uttered, I know the business and the team are in trouble. So if you are sitting back and you're like, it's just the economy, people are freaked out by the election, it'll all be fine. It's not me. Doing these quarterly launches, running this Black Friday sale I've been running for the last 10 years, running this campaign, eventually people will come around and want to buy. It'll all work out because it always does. If you're stuck in your business, if your growth has stalled, if your profits are down, if you're frustrated and kind of freaking out, the worst thing that you can do is keep doing what you always do, because guess what? It is no longer working. And the faster you can say to yourself, that worked in the past, and maybe we need to try something new, the faster you're going to find a solution that's going to jumpstart your business. Now, here's the thing, that when you invite innovation, curiosity, creativity, disruption into your business dealings, you're going to get so uncomfortable. You're going to like creepy crawly inside of your own skin. You are going to second guess yourself. You are going to look to the left of you and the right of you and see if everybody thinks you're crazy. You are going to need reassurance. You're going to change your mind 1,000 times. And that's normal. Because operating against the norm is scary. And your brain is wired to keep you safe. So of course, in moments where you are freaking out and you're worried and you're scared and you're not sure what to do and you don't want to tell anybody that, and then you invite in curiosity and open-mindedness and begin looking at other things, all systems are going to tell you that you've lost your mind. And that's when the good stuff starts. Because as soon as you crack into that creativity, as soon as you crack into that ingenuity, you start to see things differently. You know, I said recently to somebody that data will tell you whatever story you want to hear as long as you know how to maneuver it in a way that's advantageous to you. And the same is true with your perspective in business. You see what you want to see. So when you are able to identify that you're panicking about something, when you're able to see black and white, this just isn't working, seize the freaking day. Get curious, ask questions. And then here is like the very last piece of this whole thing that ties it together. Is you need to encourage those around you to look for solutions. Because what will happen is if you're the leader, if you're the owner, if you're the CEO, likely you're going to get over the hump of discomfort before everybody else. And then they're going to see that you're on the path and they really want to follow you, but they're worried and they're uncomfortable and you can't leave them behind. It's a little bit like if you've ever been on a nature walk and you have a guide and the guide shows up and they've got a walking stick and like this cool backpack and these boots and like they're like prepared, bear spray, they're prepared. And you show up and you're in your cute hiking outfit with your brand new tennis shoes and your cute little hat and like you're ready and your water bottle and you like look at them and you're like, are we going on the same walk? Because nobody told me to bring a walking stick. I absolutely missed the part about the bear spray and I'm concerned. And you, the nature guide, you're so confident. It's going to be so great. It's so beautiful. You're going to be in tune with nature. We're going to see all these things. It's going to be so cool. And like, but just watch your step. Follow me. And with trepidation, you begin to follow behind. And the entire time you're like, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. I should turn around. I should get back in my car. I am not a woodsy person. I am a city person. This was a bad idea. This was a bad idea. This was a bad idea. They're looking to you as the nature guide to keep them at ease, to show them another way, to open up their minds and invite a different way of thinking. And if you can captivate them, if you can tap into that part of their brains that is curious and innovative and solution-oriented, before you know it, they followed you a mile into the woods, and there you are. The trees open up, and the most beautiful lake one has ever seen is sitting right in front of them. They didn't get muddy. They didn't fall down. Nobody encountered a bear. Your steady and unwavering belief that together you would find a solution that was more beautiful than the options you had in front of you is what will lead them down the path. You see, when you're optimistic and you're solution-oriented and you're curious, it becomes infectious to those around you. So as a leader in your business, as the business owner, as the person that is currently right now feeling stuck and frustrated and freaked out and a little bit annoyed that the people on high gave you a goal that was stupid and that you ignored for 9 months. Yes, I'm talking to you too. Now is the time to ask questions. Now is the time to get curious. Now is the time to be the guide. And when you get past your discomfort, you can invite others in to follow along and you can help them cultivate a mindset of curiosity and solutions and testing. And eventually, even if that first attempt is a failure and that second one and that third, what you're going to do is you're going to cultivate an environment of we try hard things, of we don't give up, of we look at things differently and we keep going. And you know what that will do is it will begin to inspire others to take action and your business will grow. Now, I want to preface all of this as we close with the very true reality that you can foster a spirit of creativity and innovation and curiosity. And sometimes you need to bring in somebody that has some expertise to help you see the real solutions. It can be very easy for you to take whatever you're panicked about, whatever you're freaking out about, whatever's got you stuck in your business and say, this is the thing. If we solve this, everything will be fine. And then to get to the other side and realize it was just a red herring. It wasn't actually the thing you need to be focused on at all. And so one of the best things that you can do when you're feeling stuck is to get an expert to sit alongside you, to show you the way as you are being curious and solution oriented, and maybe point out some blind spots. Because the reality is, when you work in the business, you're blind to what's going on in the business. You see what you want to see. And so when you can marry the spirit of optimism, when you can marry the spirit of curiosity and innovation, when you can wrap your arms around disruption and say, thank you so much, welcome to the table, I can't wait to get to know you better, with an expert that can help guide your journey, can help point you in the direction for you to get curious and find solutions, then you become unstoppable. Because when you pair the open-minded mindset with expertise, it's just a matter of which actions you take to get the results that you want. It stops being can we and it starts to become when we. That's the magic of fostering a curious mindset within your organization and then bringing in the people that know how to do what you need them to do to help you see the way forward. So I hope if you're stuck in your business, I hope if you are inside of corporate somewhere and you are super frustrated that the end of the year is looming and you haven't met your goals, that this encourages you just a smidge to think differently. And the next time some stranger comes to you and says, why do we do it that way? What if we did it like this? Or tell me more about that. That you get excited and you bounce up and down a little bit and you're like, yes, I finally get to tap into my curiosity and my creativity and we get to really figure this out. Don't shy away from the people that ask questions. Become one. I hope that this inspires you today. I hope that it brings a little bit of love and life into your business day. And until we talk again, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you're capable. And I believe in